How's it going, class? I'm Edmundo Torres. I'm a student in the fire science degree, and today I'm going to give my final presentation for the firefighter health and safety project, which was a fatality Niosh report. I chose this incident that happened in Texas. A firefighter got struck and killed by a van driver. Um, the reason why I want to talk about this, or the reason why I chose this one, is because for me it was a pretty simple incident. And I say incident because it was not an accident. An accident is something you cannot avoid. It's something pretty much like a lightning just striking me right now. I'm gonna get a stroke and maybe die or maybe not, but there's something that I cannot prevent. There's nothing I can do to prevent a lightning hitting me. I can take my precautions, but I don't know like when it's gonna rain or whatever, right? And an incident is something that it could get prevented. Like for example, a brake failure. You can prevent that by taking the appropriate maintenance on your vehicle, not going above the speed limit, stuff like that. And here we're going to be using NFPA's 1500 accountability, NFPA 101, which is like the proper procedures for training and safety, quantitative and qualitative information, and robotics. To give you a quick introduction about what happened, this was on 2019, right? So what happened was an engine truck got dispatched to go and support an emergency call. The firefighters at the scene, they were needing assistance with some thick white smoke and some plastic getting burned outer, right? So aerial platform 1, which is the truck we were going to talk about right now, got dispatched 0704 to go in and provide support. And whenever they arrived there, they immediately park. This was in front of a hotel. What it was burning was a hotel. So they parked right in front of the hotel on a two-way road. So they park on a two-way road, and they literally just park a little bit aside of the highway. So they were not even on the sidewalk or like they were just right there. So either way, when they arrived to this scenario, all 4 crew members, including the officer, in this case a captain, they drove down on the engine and gathered around at the rear of the truck to start unpacking all the equipment needed, which in this case was an electronic ventilator, right? What happened here, since the beginning, I can already see some issues or some issues, right? First off, none of them, or at least in the report, they never said that they were wearing reflective vest. Why would they? Because it was, like we said, they got dispatched at 07, and they arrived there around 07:11. What tells you that it's pretty early. It's pretty early, right? So it's not that. The light is not perfect. You don't have perfect visibility. So, and it was 12 minutes before sunrise. So imagine all the emergency stroke lights from the truck, the street lights, and it's a pretty busy hour because most likely, or at least a good chunk of people in America go to work at that time because they gotta be there by 8:30, or 9. So it's a pretty busy hour of the day. Everybody has sleep. Everybody's in a rush. So the reflective bells is something that you need, especially when you park on a two-way road right there. Okay, so that was one. The second one, it is that they were not using the day-to-day normal vehicle that they would normally use. Their truck, or the engine, was in the shop for some due to some maintenance repairs. So they were using an alternative vehicle. And once again, they didn't do an inspection of the vehicle. Now, maybe nothing mechanical failed, but around 07:11, once they arrived, the captain sent the firefighter paramedic to go back to the truck cab, and gather the TIC, the thermal imaging camera, right? Which normally it's on the charging dock behind the engineer's seat. In this case, he wasn't there, and he didn't know that, so he was taking a little bit longer looking for it. So failure number 2, layouts. NFPA 1500, accountability. Accountability not just mean being responsible for your actions, being on time, or being present at work. No, accountability means being responsible for everything. So in this case, if you know that you're gonna use an alternative vehicle, why not do a layout or a run around on the vehicle? Okay, this is here, this is there. And if you memorize it, good. But if you don't like it like that, do your own layout and have it the way you like it, the way you used to work, to save time. We need to remember on emergencies, seconds count and matters. Now, the third one, they're on the road, on a two-way road, cars coming and going. Why not set up a TTC, a temporary traffic control, right? This is pretty much just a couple of cones, just kind of when you control, creating a control zone. Pretty much when you're dealing with hazardous materials, the same, right? In this case, you're not gonna do a hot, warm, or decon and then a cold zone, but you need your perimeter to avoid people getting in your way, to avoid people getting hurt, to avoid you yourself getting hurt, and also to let people know that there's something going on in there. So slow down, go around, or either the scenario. And honestly, since they were just there for support, they shouldn't be in such a rush. The captain should get off the truck, assume command, and start thinking, okay, we're gonna do this, and that. Hey, you, reflective bells. You drop down the fan. You go for the camera. You start setting up a perimeter. That's a command right there. Not just, hey, I don't know, do whatever. So they were just support. That shouldn't be on a rush. But alrighty. According to Niosh, the county medical examiner officer concluded that the firefighter died with a collision of forces between his body and the van. So it was a pretty hard stroke, right? I chose this one because, like I said, it was something that could be avoided, something could be prevented. According to Niosh, we have 1 million firefighters serving and protecting the citizens in our buildings, right? From that million, I'm gonna give you exactly the numbers. For that million, 336,000 are professional firefighters, career firefighters, which means pretty much they get paid, and 812,000 are volunteers. From those numbers, 8 to 100 die every year. If you put that in perspective, that means that pretty much every 3 days a firefighter dies. So every Wednesday or every Saturday, depending on what day you started, but half of the week, somebody's losing a dad, somebody's losing a brother, a husband, somebody's losing a mother, a sister. That's something to concern. I mean, a firefighter every 3 days, that's a lot. So how this happened was that whenever the firefighter was looking for the TIC, it took it a little bit longer than expected because, he wasn't there. It wasn't behind the engineer's seat. So he was looking for it. Finally, it's not specified if he was going in or getting out the platform when he fall backwards. I'm assuming he was getting out because they specified that he couldn't find the TIC, or at least not immediately. He fell backwards, and at the same time, this van was going 30 miles per hour. They imposed speed limit and ran over the firefighter. And before the firefighter hit the ground, he was dragged 26.5 feet. And finally, the van driver hit the brakes, got off, and started yelling for help. And firefighters start immediately with with first aid. They found him passed out or unconscious with multiple traumas and multiple bruises. Right. Sadly, he passed away. Um, I'm gonna also go through his training experience to let you know that it can happen to everybody. We just need a little bit of complacency to start making mistakes. This firefighter, he joined the department on February 2003, and just to show how well trained this firefighter and paramedic was, I'm gonna give you the list, right? The list of certifications completed on those 16 years in the fire department. Firefighter 1, paramedic, hazardous material awareness and operational, hazardous materials technician, national incident management system, incident command system, weapons of mass destruction series, terrorism awareness for first responders, incident response to terrorism bombings, structural collapse technician 1, pipeline emergency response, fluid and swiftwater rescue technician 1 and 2, basic rob rescue technician, confined space rescue, accident and scene safety and hands-on extraction training, driving safety, workplace diversity, ethics, sexual harassment in the workplace, HIPAA security, firefighter safety, injuries and fatalities, bloodborne pathogens, mass decontamination, reconnaissance, respiratory protection, response to illicit drug labs, slip, trips, fall prevention, wildland urban interface, structured defense, hazard communication standard, understanding sexual assault and responding with care, suicide bomber, autism awareness, functional approach to physical fitness for emergency responders, building construction, chemical protective clothing, and the list keeps going and going. For example, here we have legal responsibilities and liabilities, lifting and back safety for EMS providers, and stress management, forecasting events, and the list just keeps going and going and going, right? So this dude was pretty prepared. And it's weird because having all these courses about emergencies and everything, they forgot to prepare a zone, a perimeter, a work area. They failed to put reflective belts. They failed to conduct an inspection and a layout of the vehicle, especially because it was something they were not used to. They failed to have a plan, and they failed to have a command, right? Some key recommendations that I will do in this case, it will be fire department should train firefighters, especially firefighters in jump seats, to exit and enter the apparatus from the side not facing oncoming or approaching traffic. Also, when not wearing thermal gear, fire departments should ensure firefighters wear reflective traffic safety vest whenever parking or working on or crossing a roadway. Fire department should establish a TTC zone when apparatus are parked or staged on a two-lane commercial or residential streets. Once TTC measures are in place, fire department should consider implementing procedures to turn off the apparatus headlights and reduce the flashing frequency of the emergency lights, particularly during the dark hours when visibility is pretty poor. And those lights strobe pretty hard and they can blind you. Along with their state and local partners, they should consider a public education campaign on the state law regarding the speed limits around emergency operations and the enforcement of those laws. To pretty much teach the civilian sector on how to approach an emergency area, right, or an emergency scenario. On my personal point of view, we can use quantitative and qualitative data in here. We need to remember what those are, right? So qualitative data is pretty much the information that comes from people. So this can involve feelings, point of views, and it's not 100% accurate. It can be like, he fall because I don't know, because his boots were kind of loose, right? In quantitative data, their numbers, the specific numbers, he was going this fast. He hit the brakes this many times. Fire operation pump was functioning this much. Um, he fell on the exit and entering the fire apparatus at this course this many times. So have knowledge on it to start a new type of training, or to identify things that we're missing in our training. That's pretty important. That's the saving lives right there. Um, Simple mistakes could go to avoid, like the rushing, like the layout, or the missing of those. Um, the TTC, the reflective belts, the lights being on, and we need to keep the importance of keeping in the mind always focused. Always being alert, always being on your game, right? Because we're talking about lives in here, yours and civilians and a lot of people, right? So we all have to be on top of our game. Being a firefighter is not a game. It's not something that you just grab a hose and start spraying water. No, it's a lot of responsibility, liability, a lot of training, a lot of multiple factors that can affect you. It's a lot of knowledge, it's a lot of training, it's a lot of experience. So, to conclude my presentation, I'm gonna say that this incident was 100%, or at least 90.9, avoidable. We could prevent these type of things. So I would say that we need more training. Like whenever the emergencies are kind of slow, we develop the victim syndrome. Well, let's get rid of that. Let's just start training and training and training whenever we have nothing to do. And if an emergency comes up, that's also training to drop whatever you're doing and start getting ready for that fire or emergency, and then come back and be accountable for your stuff and go back and do whatever you were doing before. Once again, we need to implement more teaching classes at schools, I don't know, like on public places, to teach people how to react and how to approach an emergency scenario. Most of us, or a lot of us, don't know what to do. For example, when there's an emergency and the ambulance or the firefighters are coming, people sometimes don't move out of the way. They just slow down, or just keep going with their life, ignoring that there's an emergency. We need to teach them to move out of the way, to park on the side, right? To teach them left or right, and all those type of things, right? How to react when there's an emergency. Um, Once again, every 3 days we lose a firefighter. That's a pretty big concern, and we need to start thinking about it, and we need to start to do something about it. But well, hopefully you like my presentation. If there's any doubts, any concerns, feel free to reach me on my personal email, which is rangertorres1994 @gmail.com. Phone number 915-274-8322, or my school email. Just click on the class, and it will drop you down the emails of everybody, and I'm right there. And if not, mine is edmundo.torresnava@epcc.edu. Well, thank you for your time.